Hi all and welcome to Karlpopewoodcraft. I'm Karl. Today I'm going to be answering a question that I've been asked multiple times, and that was, how much did my workshop cost to build? Those of you out there will know that I'm not a rich man, so stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to give you some top tips on how you can afford to do what I've done on a really tight budget. Unfortunately, when building the workshop, I didn't consider that I was going to have a YouTube channel at that point, and I was just videoing it just for my own reference and just for a bit of fun. Anyway, I went on to then have this YouTube channel, and since then it's grown. I've been asked a lot of questions, so I've done my best to that end just to try and work out the amounts of materials that I bought, and I've looked back at references from receipts and on the websites that I used and tried to calculate the amounts that I ordered. So some of these won't be super accurate. If you notice anything that seems like it's a little bit out, don't be afraid to let me know in the comments and we'll try and rectify that. But the overall costs and dimensions should be pretty much correct. My workshop dimensions then are 2.5 meters in height, and it's 17 feet by 10 feet. The foundations then, let's look at them first. So the foundations on my build, if you've watched any of the videos, are very basic, and basically I used concrete slabs with some sand packed in to make everything level. This is the cheapest way by far you can go about doing this, and I did look at several other options, i.e. a concrete base or a gravel base, but at the time I couldn't afford these, so I went for the simplest option. In total then I think we used about 6 or 7 slabs, and I got them reclaimed from Facebook Marketplace. There was quite heavy duty. There was from an old council property, and that including the sand cost me approximately £60. Moving on to the base then. For the base you'll see that I used treated timbers, and this was the only area of the build that I actually used the treated timbers, and I made sure that I bought these from a wood yard and that there was treated, because obviously I was very aware that this is where the damp could hit the most. This is the one where I'm probably the most vague on, and I've put down in my notes here that there was about 100 meters worth of 2x4s and they was treated, and the cost was approximately £150. Moving on to the next part then, which was the framing timber. The framing timber I actually got from a reclamation yard, and that's a charity-based organisation here in Hull for Dove House. So if you get a chance to go to the reclamation yard in Hull, definitely recommend you doing that. And that was £350, and that was for 300 meters worth of 2x3s. Moving on to the cladding of the building then, that was probably looking at this, definitely my biggest expense, because I chose log lap cladding because I wanted the structure to look nice and I wanted it to be solid. There was other options out there like featherboard and tongue grooved boards, but I just think this, for the structure of this type, it just looked, this is where I wanted to spend the bit of money that I had, and this was £650, and that was for 300 meters. And I bought that from eBay because it was cheaper than anywhere in Hull, even with delivery. That came from Bradford, from a wood yard in Bradford, and they charged me £1 a mile for delivery, which was about £65–70. And I actually even with 2 deliveries, because I misordered on the first one, I needed to order another 100 meters. It still came under what I would have paid in Hull. So that was £650. Boarding then, that's the plywood that I used to board the floor, the inside of the ceiling, the external on the roof, and all the walls. So for everything I used 15mm plywood. You will notice in one of the builds that I used 18mm on the floor, but that got rain damaged and I ended up drying that out and then just boarding over the top of that again with 15mm. That has actually made the floor really stable and strong, so I'd probably recommend, I'd definitely recommend, if you're going to board your floor out, looking at least 18mm for your floor, because mine's ended up with 18 and 15mm on there. Anyway, we used 30 boards and that came in at £600. And you'll see again in my update videos, it did take me a long while to board out the whole workshop once it was watertight, and that was because I was just doing this a little bit at a time. Moving on to the electrics then. Electrics were £200, and excuse me, were £200, and I got an electrician in to do that for me, and he fitted all the sockets and the external works. I've got 7 double sockets, and they're all of the metal construction type, and all the wiring's inside the walls. And I did draw a graph of everything, so I knew where the wires was for when screwing in there at a later date. Moving on to the roof then. For the roof we used felt and bitumen. Bitumen was the tin type where you don't need to melt it down, you just stick your brush in and paste it on. And we spent £80 on felt and bitumen and nails for the roof. Insulation then, again this is another area that took me quite a long while, and this is because I was buying it as and when, as with the boarding. I think I bought 3 pieces off Facebook Marketplace that was 50mm thick, and that was polystyrene, and the rest was 25mm thick, and that was from B&Q. And I also bought a roll of the fiberglass type of insulation and some of the foil type insulation for inside the door. So it's all mix and match, and basically it's just to get the job done as cost effective as possible but still have that insulation. And I'm just looking at the costings for that, and that was approximately £150. So, and then we move on to the consumables, which was screws, nails and silicone. And we looked at about, I think you're looking at about £130 there, because you need a hell of a lot of screws and nails. I used screws for the frame, I used nails for the frame and then screws everywhere else. So I did spend quite a lot on screws, nails and silicone. So the windows, you'll see I've got double glazing windows minus the sills, which I've been informed about that's what was causing my problems with leaking. So the windows I got for free, and they was donated to me by a family member. I just needed one piece of glass for one of the windows, and that cost me £30. So if you are going to fit these double glazing windows, make sure you put sills in them first. That's just a little tip there. And then the door is the final thing on my list, and that was £75, and that was mainly for the tongue and grooved and for the 2x3s. Again, I insulated that with a foil insulation. So I hope that answered a lot of the questions for the people that have been asking me over the last year or so, and I think I've hit just about everything that I've spent money on there, and I might be a little bit out on some of the amounts that I ordered, but it will give you a rough estimation of how much it will cost to build. So the grand total then was £2,475, and I could have never have done that in one hit, and that's why it's took me over a year to get where I am today. Now, some tips for how you can afford it as well if you're on a tight budget like me, to definitely shop around. I've used, to buy the materials that I've bought, I've used Facebook Marketplace, I've used Gumtree, I've used eBay, and I've used local wood yards. So for every item that I purchased, I didn't just look at the first place and buy it. I shopped around, I waited, and I got the best deal that I could at the time. So definitely do that. Also, to get the finances in the first place, I used extra paid work. So none of the money that I used to build this building came out of my family's allowance, what we use every month to live off. Everything came from me selling bed boxes, chopping boards, making shelves, all the stuff that you see at the beginning of my woodworking journey, all the stuff that you see me making at the beginning of my woodworking journey, the little bar, what I made, all the bits and bobs. Lots of them was sold on eBay, bed boxes and things like that. Car boots, I also did a lot of car boot sales, and not just selling woodworking stuff. I sold all our old clothes, every last bit and bob that I could find, what we had stuffed in cupboards. And we did about 6 car boot sales last year, making up to £300 a time, and sometimes we only made £100. But you know, that pays for a lot of the build. So make things, no matter how small, sell them, and buy tools, make things, have car boots, sell them, put the money away, and use that towards building your workshop. It works. I've done it. And lastly, it's just about making priorities. What are your priorities? And if your priority is your home and your family, that's everybody's priorities, and that must come first. And then from there, you know, any spare money that you have, possibly put it away towards building your workshop, because that, in the end of it, if you want it to be a hobby for life, then you know it's going to benefit you and your mind, and it's going to it's going to benefit your family. So putting that bit of money away for yourself is definitely going to help you, and it's going to help your family. If you want it to be a career and help to sustain your family life and cost of live and lifestyle, then again, make that a priority. That's what I've done. I work a lot of hours, probably 60, 70 hours a week. Some weeks I'll cut that down to 40, 50. But yeah, I've got two jobs: my day job, working as a carer and a transport manager, and then my night and weekend job, which is my hobby as well. So, you know, putting the effort and the time into it makes it cost effective, and then in the end you can start making money for yourself and your family. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys, and I'll catch you on next week's video, which will be back onto the Mighty Station build, and looking forward to doing some storage and some drawers and things like that on there. So see you later, guys. Bye.